A quick topical dose of Monty Python. Perhaps we should have had a bishop on the sofa as well. Now this month they'll be celebrating their 30th birthday, and we're lucky because we joined in by chatting to John Cleese at his London home. If you were watching earlier, you'd have seen John revealing more than just emotional scars to our very own Esther McVeigh. So anything could happen within the next few minutes.
Do you feel you have to change? Is change an important part in your life? But if you look what you've done, it seems to me that you're very neat. You've done a comedy and you close that door. You've done a book, you close that door. You're looking at self-help. You've done videos.
Well,
I was motivated by change. That's what I'm wondering.
I think things come along that interest you, and sometimes, like Video Arts, this management company. I mean, I never thought I'd be in Video Arts making these training videos for more than 5 or 6 years. And then you might get into something like Fish Called Wanda, because I vaguely felt, well, most of the other Pythons had done a movie, and maybe I should. And then I very nearly didn't. I just wanted to work with Charlie Crichton, poor dear fellow who died just a few days ago. So it's not, I don't have a very kind of organized view of what I ought to do next, but I go where my curiosity takes me.
So why would you want to change your life, change
Just
yourself?
boredom. You know, I do something until I've had enough of it, and that tends to be sooner than most people. I got bored with Python before the other guys did. And I very frequently found that I've had enough of something. I need to move on. Connie and I were both bored with Basil after 12 shows. We just didn't want to write anymore. It didn't seem to us to be an interesting thing to do. And boredom's quite good because it does keep you moving.
Is it boredom because you've achieved all you can achieve?
No, it's because you're not interested anymore. Because you don't wake up in the morning thinking, oh, this is going to be interesting today. I mean, I'm married to Alice Faye, who's been on your show and is a psychoanalyst. Now, one of the greatest things about Alice Faye, when she was practicing as a shrink, which meant basically staying in one place, which she doesn't do anymore because she travels with me a lot, and we live in America a lot, but she used to wake up every morning as a shrink and think, oh, it's going to be interesting today. Difficult, maybe, but interesting.
If you don't mind me saying, you like American ladies. It seems in preference to British ladies.
Seems to be. I did once propose to an English girl who turned me down.
Oh, Americans are easier, are they, to accept the proposal?
Also, they find the English charming in a way that the English don't. So you're off to a good start.
Are you two sort of perfectly aligned souls?
No. No, we like each other, and we have various areas where we almost entirely fail to communicate at all. Because I use irony a lot, being sort of British, and, you know, I often say the opposite of what I actually mean. And Alice Faye does come from Oklahoma, where irony is not thick on the ground, so she very frequently takes what I say absolutely literal.
Now, it wasn't so long ago you had a scare. Was it a cancer scare?
Yes, it was about 3 years ago, and for a long weekend, because whenever you have a cancer scare, it always happens on Friday. You know, there's always a bank holiday on the Monday. So I had about 3.5 days of. My doctor thought I had cancer, prostate cancer. I think it helps to focus your mind, you know, and I don't think it's a huge life-changing experience. I think what I've found much more effective in changing my attitudes the last few years has been in the number of friends I've had who started to die, which is what happens when you start getting to your 50s. Peter Cook was a loss I think I've still not quite got over. It helps you to start thinking, what do I want to do with the rest of my life, instead of just running along on the same lines.
You say Peter Cook, when he died, it had a great effect on you. You really thought. Did you reevaluate what you were doing?
Well, you always do at the time of the death. You know, something happens, you just start feeling about the world differently. For a time, when a child is seriously sick, which happened to a grandson of mine this last week, you just feel differently about life. You know, it changes your values, but the trouble is, once the emergency's over, you tend to click back into the old thing and back the list. Oh, 29 things to tick off today, and you're back in the old routine. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, it changes, and the accumulation of deaths and the fact you're getting older starts just changing the way in which you live.
It changes the way in which you live slightly, but how about the way you think about God, religion? spirituality. Does that been changed?
I think my greatest disadvantage was when I was young, I assumed the Church of England was what religion was. I didn't know about other kinds of religion. I thought that religion had to be about a God who was a bit like a very intelligent human being who ran things and basically made sure that things happened. Now, there's lots of other ways of thinking about religion than that. I wish I could show you a clip from The Meaning of Life, but it's probably too expensive. It's we parodied it, and I was very pleased with that particular little bit of work. Graham and I wrote it, and it was all about a chaplain coming out and saying, "Oh God, you are so big," and the congregation said, "So big," you know, so absolutely huge, so absolutely. We're all really impressed down here. I'm sorry to sort of flatter you in this awful bare-faced way, but you know, it's just that you're so terrific. We're knocked out. You know, you're fantastic, God. It's just, oh wow, you know, that kind of praising God. Do we really think God is at such a low psychological level that he needs praise to cheer him up? He's a bit above that, you know. Drives me mad. And then there's a song that they sing immediately afterwards, a hymn called "Oh Lord, Please Don't Burn Us," which that's the kind of attitude which Freud criticized in Christianity, and that's why Freud said it was all rubbish, and he didn't know there was something else around that was much more interesting.
So, Life of Brian, do you think that was a backlash to your school days?
The irony is that it was while I was reading Michael Grant's book about Jesus' life that I sort of found some flickers of interest. We're just doing a bit of background reading so that we could make better informed jokes. And that's more or less the time from which my interest in Christianity dated. I'd always thought the Eastern religions were interesting, and they don't on the whole require a God. But when I got into the Michael Grant book, that kindled my interest. The thing I think that if anyone's interested in sort of things I am, I would suggest they borrowed Life and How to Survive It. I'm not selling. Borrow it and read that.
And this is your book.
Yeah,
this is what you wrote with Skinner.
And read the pages about religion, because I thought that they were really, really good stuff. And most of it's Robin stuff. And
so how would you sort of
well, it's about the fact we think probably. I suspect there is some kind of there's more going on than we think, and scientism, which is the rude word for an over-scientific approach. See, the thing about scientists is they don't study the philosophy of science, so they tend not to know what the limits of science are. The philosophers are better on that. But if you see what the limits of science are, you begin to realize there's a whole area still in which religion or spiritual things can operate. And I've got interested in this recently. I went to a conference with Alice Faye about a month ago in Cambridge on reincarnation. Now, I don't know if I believe in reincarnation, but some of the cases are very striking. And there's a place in America called the Monroe Institute where they can teach you to have an out-of-body experience. Well, that's the next thing I want to do. They call them OBEs, and I've always joked that it's the only kind of OBE I'm interested in. But I know people who've had out-of-body experiences, and I have no reason to think that they're lying to me. So I want to find out more about them. There's more going on than we think, but you wouldn't believe it by and large from, you know, the culture you live in.
But when we do die, where do you reckon we're going to go? Or where do you reckon you're going to go? What's next?
Provided it's not Western Superman. I must be serious. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm wondering if there's a bit of us that goes on, but if a bit does go on, it can't be all of us. I mean, there can't be a bit of spiritual Cleese out there in 2030 that's to do with me being tall because I don't have a body anymore. You know, and all that vanity that we all have. I mean, that presumably that goes. So what's left? And is it really us by the time you've shaved all the skins of the ego off? What's left in there isn't really us anymore. So I don't know. I don't know.
Well, if there isn't a little bit of Cleese floating around, the world will be a poorer place.
A poorer place.
Oh, thank you very much for speaking to us today. It's been fantastic.
You enjoyed
Cheers.
it.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening.
Oh, the lovely John Cleese. Now, we know, John, that you're watching with your mum from Western Supermare, and we also know that, Muriel, it's your birthday, 100 years old on Tuesday, so a big congratulations to you. And it's also Toya's mum's birthday, which is Barbara, so happy birthday to you. You're not 100, are you, dear?
70.
70. Happy birthday to both.